Thank you for purchasing the FM50 test set. We want to walk through what comes in the kit, how to install it, and how to field calibrate your flow meter. What comes in the kit is your FM50 test set, which comes in this Pelican case, and we will walk through how to set it up. But you should also find your AC power cable, your male-to-male USB cable, and the cable that connects the FM50 flow meter to your test set. Okay, the first step is going to be connecting your USB cable. Now, of course, you're saying, well, I found this video, so I've already connected my USB cable. You'd be correct in saying that, but it's worth mentioning. But there's a couple things that you do need to notice. Once the USB cable is connected, you'll be prompted, a folder will pop up. You're going to want to install the FM50 test set installer. It'll be found out there, and we'll give you a screen close-up here in a second. There's two other things you need to note. This program only works on Windows 7 or newer computers, and Excel must be installed on your computer for this test set to work. In the event that when you plugged in the folder did not pop up automatically, if you go to this PC, you click on that, you'll see your drive pop up. It's treated very much like a USB thumb drive if you're familiar with that technology. So once we click on that, you'll see the FM50 field calibration tool installer. Double click that, and then we're going to run the setup icon. It should be noted that once we do the initial setup, it can take up to approximately 5 minutes, and you do not need power to the FM50 calibration test set. So this can actually be done in your office before you head out to the field. Okay, so now if you're out in the field and you're on your FM50, you should already have these ball valves installed. Yours may look a little bit different, but the point is the ball valves are installed. So we're going to get ready to hook up the test set to the FM50. Okay, for this next step, we're going to talk about what you need out in the field to successfully calibrate your FM50. You're going to need hoses, most importantly. You may already have these out there. They're going to connect to the ball valve to the test set. Don't connect them yet. There's going to be a step where we actually do that, and it's important that you don't do that yet. But in case you go out to the field and you don't have them, you're going to need to make them. We recommend the shorter the better. 2 to 3 feet is ideal, and you'll be able to look at the connector between your ball valve and what's going to be required from the test set. Now, since we're not connecting these yet, it is worth mentioning that for the best possible calibration, you're going to zero the transducer inside the flow meter. The instructions on how to do that can be found in your FM50 instruction manual. If you don't have that manual anymore, you can go online to www.continentalcontrols.com and download those instructions as well. Okay, we're almost ready to begin calibrating the FM50. At this point, we have power hooked up to the test set. You can power this unit up as well. Your cable connecting the test set to the flow meter is connected as well. Of course, your USB drive is connected. Your software is installed. The only thing not installed yet are going to be those hoses we talked about. Way to do that, there's a step. If you look at your screen now, your installer is completely ran, and there are step-by-step instructions on how to calibrate. So we're going to walk you through those steps to get your flow meter performing as best it possibly can. Okay, well now we're ready to actually start following the instructions found on your software. For the sake of this demo, I just unplugged the communication, the power cable. Yours will still be connected, but it makes viewing what's happening here a little bit easier to see. So, on your FM50 calibration on your computer, there's a couple of boxes we need to fill in. On the upper right-hand corner, and it corresponds with step number 1, it says, enter the test set serial number, computer COM port, and notes. The test set serial number is found on the FM50 test set. So your serial number is there. For this sake, it's serial number 100. We're going to type in 100 there. Customer name and notes. Again, any notes about this application that you think is relevant. At the very end of the procedure, we're going to be able to print up a report. So if you want any notes or anything custom to show up on that report, that's a good spot to fill it in. On your COM port, there's a drop-down box, and you'll select the appropriate COM port. Once you plug in, you'll see where those go. More detailed explanation of COM ports in that area of troubleshooting can be found in the flyer that's going to be part of your FM50 test set. So we connect to our COM port. Number 2, it says press run in the upper left arrow. This arrow right here, you notice that once we drove the mouse over it, it highlighted run. We would press run at this point. Step number 3, enter the current atmospheric pressure in Hg. So the current atmospheric pressure can be found online wherever you're at. You could be doing this in Colorado. Here in San Diego, where this is manufactured, it leaves calibrated for sea level. So you can look that up online, enter in the appropriate atmospheric pressure. Step number 4, open valve number 1 and valve number 2. So valve 1 is at the bottom of your calibration set right here. Valve 2. So we've opened those up, and that was step number 4. Now we're going to go to step number 5, verify test set PI equals atmospheric pressure. Your test set PI can be found right here. And of course our atmospheric pressure we entered is right there. So we're going to verify that those two numbers match. Step number 6, connect hoses to flow meter and test set. So these are the hoses we mentioned. They are not supplied with the kit, but you may have them on site. You may need to make them yourself. So we'll connect the hose to the ball valve, to the test set. Now you want to make sure that you're connecting your inlet to the right side of the inlet and the outlet to the outlet as well. So verify that you're connecting them to the correct sides. Now that we have our hoses connected correctly between the FM50 test set and the FM50, we want to make sure that we open up all 4 valves. In a previous step, we opened up the test set valves, so verify those are still open. We will open up the ball valves here on the FM50. This will allow the natural gas to go from the FM50 into the test set. Once you've done that, if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, you're going to see the gas temperature for the test set, which will be the very far right-hand side. The next step says that we're going to wait for the gas temperature to stabilize. The RTD inside of the test set, when the gas initially passes through there, will be a little bit colder. So we're going to wait for that to stabilize. And step number 9 tells us we're going to press calibrate temperature, which is located right here. Once we press the calibrate temperature, it'll make sure it's calibrated. You know it's done correctly. Again, on the right-hand side of your screen, this little red light here will actually turn green when it's calibrated correctly. Okay, now we're on step number 10. Step number 10 tells us that we're going to open valve number 1 and close valve number 2. Again, they're labeled. Valve number 1 is the bottom, and that one said to open, so that's already set there. We're going to close valve number 2. So I'm going to switch that to off. Step number 11 on the computer says press 0 dP. What we're doing here is there's your button that says 0 dP. We're going to press this. And again, this is not zeroing the differential pressure transducer inside your FM50. It's actually zeroing the dP inside of the test set. So once we press 0 dP, we go to step number 12 that says verify test set dP reads 0. That's going to be your gauge in the bottom right hand corner. Test set dP, that should read 0. Okay, now we're on step number 13. It says to close valve number 1 and open valve number 2. So close number 1 and open valve number 2. Step number 14 tells us if flow is stable, press calibrate pressure. So now your flow is right here at the bottom. There's your instructions and there's your flow. Again, it's worth repeating. At this point, your flow meter, you should be flowing gas at your desired top end of SCFM. So if you run your engine at 100% right now, you should be flowing 100%. If your top end is 80% load, well, you should be flowing 80% of that. So again, you're flowing your desired rate. Again, as 14 says, if flow is stable, press calibrate pressure. So we will press this now. Okay, at this point we've pressed the calibrate pressure. You know that it's done correctly if these two gauges match each other, the flow meter dP and the test set dP. Now, since they are calibrated, should be matching one another. Another thing you want to look for is that you should have 3 green lights, meaning you've encountered no errors. This light, and this light. All 3 will match green. If one of them is red, we need to go back and do steps again. If all 3 are green, that means we're ready to generate the report. Step number 15 tells us to press the report button. An Excel report will pop up and show you the calibration of your FM50. At this point, if you're happy with the calibration, you will press stop. Well, that concludes our video on the field calibration of the FM50. We appreciate you using our products. This video was made in a very quick fashion, but hopefully it helps you understand the correct way to set up the test set and how to calibrate your FM50. If you do have questions, of course, you can feel free to call your field service rep here at Continental Controls or find out more information on the website again at www.continentalcontrols.com.